Hello everyone, welcome! I'm David, your friendly neighborhood coding instructor, and this is another video in our series on Introduction to Web Development for people with no prior experience. In this video, I'm going to start digging into HTML. As you've already seen, there is a basic structure to all HTML pages. The root is an HTML element, which contains exactly two children, a head element and a body element. The head element contains metadata. The data is the actual content of the page, which is contained in the body element. Metadata is data about the content of the page, such as the title of the document. Visible elements can be put into two categories, which determine how they get placed on the page. A block element always gets a whole line to itself. In other words, 100% of the width of the window. Header elements, like H1, and the paragraph element are examples of block elements. They have a box shape that can be styled in many ways using CSS. An inline element is most commonly used for styling runs of text, such as underlining some text or making it bold. These elements often don't have a simple box shape, as they might start on one line and end on the next line, for example. On our web page so far, anchor and emphasis are inline elements. Two very often used HTML elements are the generic block and inline elements, div and span. They have no other special meaning. In contrast, most HTML elements do have a special meaning, and the appropriate HTML element is always preferred to using a generic element. For example, as you have seen, there are elements that represent headings and paragraphs, as in the web page we've been building. Assistive technologies, such as screen readers, make use of the so-called semantic elements to make sense of the structure and content of the page. So, how many HTML elements are there? Well, the answer has varied over time, but as of HTML5, I counted 115 elements based on the so-called living standard. The fact is that developers use a fraction of these elements on a regular basis. Some elements are very niche and rarely called for, but many are underutilized. The Mozilla documentation has all the elements listed and categorized. Let's look at the first element, HTML. If we scroll down to the technical summary, we see some interesting information. Among other things, we can see what is allowed inside the HTML element, and that it has no allowed parents because it is the root element. In future videos, I will go through each of these categories and go through every HTML5 element. I hope you'll join me.